LePin tells WMAR2 News they had about 100 volunteers and 80 service requests. Groton says clearing the sidewalks is just the beginning of the work.
I think the cars are going to be probably the hardest part. They seem pretty snowed in.
Gordon says Ferdinand Fells Point is used to snow, being from Scotland. He was prepared for the cleanup process.
A waterfront partnership clear the sidewalks, pavements as I call them, so we're just clearing the stuff in between each person's door.
As snow cleanup continues, Cessford has advice for people heading out with their own shovels.
For the younger ones, look after the old folk like me. For everyone else, just get out and get it done early, actually, because you'll probably see now there's ice forming underneath, and then that makes it even more difficult to do.
The city's parking authority has extended free parking in city-owned parking garages through Tuesday until 7 p.m. Raven Payne, Scripps News Group, Baltimore.
Temporary or not, the outdoor kennels at Kentucky Paws Animal Rescue had been holding strong this winter as staff hustled to fund a permanent home.
The thing that we were worried about at that moment was losing power. Everything else was fine. The dogs were warm. We could have stayed out there.
Coordinator Patricia Shelton and her team thought the bigger dogs could weather this weekend's storm. They double-checked the heat lamps, spread fresh straw, and secured the tarps. But when they stepped outside Sunday morning to remove snow from the top of the shelter, this happened.
And as we come around the little bin area, we could hear creaking. It sounded like trees, but it wasn't the trees. It was the kennels given. And as we got closer, it just collapsed. Your brain just kind of stops. Your brain stops. It's like you're in denial, you're shocked, and then immediately you're like, okay, the dogs. And here comes 5 of them running toward us. They were just having a blast. Like they were so happy, and like they didn't realize what had just happened. All they knew was they were out running in the snow.
As they ride out the bitter temps without a workable facility, some of the pups have been moved into campers with staff, and Shelton is squeezing 13 others into her office.
This is Jake. Then that's Bruno, Dan. This is Eve and Snow.
Their campaign for a permanent indoor refuge is more urgent than ever. In the immediate, Shelton asks for puppy pads, dog beds, cleaning wipes, and chew toys, with hopes of monetary donations, too.
Even though we're a rescue, we still need help. And right now, our rescue has been through a lot in the last 2 years since we've moved to Campton, Wolfe County. We're struggling. We're really struggling. So if we can't help, be patient with us. Eventually, we will be able to.
Megan Mannering, Scripps News Group.
Stay up through the night. After the break, a live look at today's top stories.
Breaking news at this hour, the families of 2 men are suing the federal government after those missile strikes on boats in the Caribbean. I'm Del Walters in Washington. You're watching Scripps News on the scene. Their family saying one of those strikes killed their loved ones. 26-year-old Chad Joseph and 41-year-old Rishi Samaru of Trinidad are believed to have been on board one of those boats. Their family say they were working in Venezuela and got a ride home. The Trump administration says the boats were carrying illegal drugs. Their family say neither man had any connection to drug cartels. Those strikes have killed at least 117 people. Homeland Security saying ICE agents will be at the Winter Olympics. The game's kicking off in less than 2 weeks on February 6th. A spokesperson saying the agents will be there for security to, quote, vet and mitigate risk from transnational criminal organizations. Current and former Italian lawmakers are urging the prime minister to ban those agents. They point to the recent deadly shootings of 2 U.S. citizens in Minneapolis. Meanwhile, the head of ICE has been ordered to appear before a federal judge in Minnesota on Friday. Todd Lyons, ICE director, is expected to explain why ICE has failed to comply with orders to hold hearings for detained immigrants. It comes a day after President Trump ordered border czar Tom Homan to take over his administration's immigration crackdown in that state. Meanwhile, Senator John Fetterman is now calling on President Trump to fire Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. The Pennsylvania Democrats' call is just part of the backlash after ICE agents shot and killed Alex Preddy in Minnesota. Noem labeled the ICU nurse a domestic terrorist just hours after the shooting, a label that came long before any official investigation. Even then, Noem failed to provide more details about that incident. Scripps News congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed is live for us on Capitol Hill. And Nate, now that Greg Bovino is leaving Minneapolis and Tom Homan is headed there, have the odds of a shutdown changed at all on Capitol Hill?
does not appear so, because critically, it seems like Kristi Noem is going nowhere. President Trump was just asked, departing for Iowa by members of the White House press, if Kristi Noem would resign, if he still has confidence in her. The answer to those questions in order, no and yes. President Trump making clear that Kristi Noem is not going anywhere for now, or at least not giving any hints about if she might have a long or short future within the Trump administration. Worth noting that the calls on Capitol Hill for her to step aside from Democrats just appear to be growing louder by the day. There's already this effort from over 100 House Democrats to try and impeach Secretary Noem. That being said, Republicans, of course, have a majority in the House of Representatives and the Senate. But, Del, we're still staring down the barrel of a government shutdown, especially as Democrats threaten to block funding for the Department of Homeland Security as part of the necessary government funding process, which lawmakers were expected to do this week and expected to have support to prevent another government shutdown. Now that is absolutely in question. And as we've seen a growing number of Democrats call on Kristi Noem to step aside, including now Senator John Fetterman, the Democrat from Pennsylvania, who's been somewhat of a moderate over the last year, voting, not too infrequently with President Trump and sometimes bucking his own party. Certainly notable, to just give you a sense of where Democrats are, that as Republicans largely say that they're not really willing to make changes to that Department of Homeland Security package that Democrats are seeking. Democrats, seem to be, at least not tipping their hand as to whether they would accept any other changes by the Trump administration. There was talk yesterday, reports that some Republican senators were trying to work with the White House and with Democrats to find a meaningful path forward. Certainly the fact that many Democrats now speaking out saying they want Kristi Noem to step aside, and the president's latest comments the last half hour that she will not step aside, at least anytime soon, certainly gives you an indication that things are not trending in a good direction here. It seems like, Del, a government shutdown is still looking more than likely.
So, Nate, should that happen, how wide-reaching will the effects of this shutdown be?
Well, some of that actually does depend on Republicans. Right now, there are 6 of 12 government funding bills that need to pass before Friday at midnight's deadline, Friday into Saturday. One of those bills is the Department of Homeland Security funding bill. The other 5 bills, far less controversial, funding for the Department of Labor, Department of Education, a number of other key policy areas, funding for the Department of Defense, the military. Those are all areas that need to be funded as well. A lot of those not crazy controversial. Democrats, Republicans work together to negotiate a path forward. They largely agree about what that funding should look like. The problem is those 6 bills are all packaged together. And the only way to move forward would be Republicans all agreeing to separate out the Department of Homeland Security funding bill from those other 5 bills. The problem is right now that doesn't seem incredibly likely. Republicans, at least some of them, not really appear to be in a mood to negotiate with Democrats on that front, willing to give consent to split that package up or risk a shutdown that only affects the Department of Homeland Security and not these other aspects of the U.S. government. So at this point, Del, a shutdown could be fairly widespread. About 6 of 12 government funding bills could lapse. That would mean that department troops could go unpaid. We could see the Department of Homeland Security go unfunded, meaning that TSA employees at airports would not get paid. FEMA, certainly workers could be furloughed there, and other government agencies could have workers furloughed as well. So this could be a fairly, broad-reaching shutdown. There was some government funding that's already been passed so far this year. So, for example, funding for the Department of Agriculture, that has already gone through, meaning that there will be no lapse in funding for SNAP, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program benefits. But again, we're still staring down the possibility of a fairly wide-reaching government shutdown that could have tremendous real-world impacts for Americans all across the country.
Yes, but Homeland Security has a massive budget as a result of the last budget bill. Scripps News congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed for us live on Capitol Hill. Nate, as always, thanks for keeping us up to date.
I'm in Gutierrez in Zephyr Hills, where dozens of people came out here to protest, to make their voices heard and demand change with ICE, especially after what happened over the weekend regarding the fatal shooting of Alex Pretty.
People here say they're outraged.
I'm very disgusted with the way the country is being
changed and run.
And heartbroken.
I was very hurt, very upset.
The fatal shooting of Alex Pretty in Minnesota this weekend has sparked demonstrations here and across the country. More than 50 people lined the streets near Alice Park holding signs and waving flags, calling for change. A video showing ICE agents shooting Pretty has circulated online, capturing the moments leading up to his death and fueling anger among protesters.
The film is obvious what they're doing. The two murders that they've done are just that, they're murders.
Now, these demonstrators are demanding justice, not just for Pretty, but also for Renee Good, the woman who was shot and killed by ICE agents earlier this month.
I understand they have a job to do, but their job does not include complying and dying.
The organizer tells me she is tired of the aggression related to ICE and is frustrated by the issues surrounding gun rights.
I am very confused on why all of a sudden the Second Amendment people are now yelling that he shouldn't have been legally having the weapon. So I don't know which way they're going. I'm getting whiplash.
Federal officials are defending the actions of ICE agents. The White House press secretary also said President Donald Trump remains a strong supporter of Americans' Second Amendment rights.
So while Americans have a constitutional right to bear arms, Americans do not have a constitutional right to impede lawful immigration enforcement operations.
Local police officers were in the area keeping an eye on the demonstrations as well.
Now, there was a counter-protest that came out tonight, but he didn't feel comfortable going on camera. However, he told me off camera that while he is not happy to see anyone dying, he also doesn't believe that people should be stopping ICE from doing their jobs. Annette Gutierrez, Scripps News Group.